Howdy doody, everybody. How are we all? Hopefully, everybody's doing fine on a beautiful Wednesday. And for us Aussies, Thursday. You got to love these different time zones, eh? Uh, Hopefully, everyone's doing well. I know my project's come to a halt. Weather's gone really bad. I've got a guest coming up in the show. He's running a little bit late at the moment, so beautiful traffic up where he is. So in the meantime, we'll get on with the show. I'm going to say hi to everybody that's here. Obviously, that guy by the name that goes by the name of Wigwag. G'day, buddy. Sorry, no cookies for you, mate. There's no more cookies left. Bernard, how are you, mate? Nice to see you in here. I need more screens to watch everyone. Yeah, I think we all do. Tammy and Ray, how are you? Nice to see you. Mike at Pendenham Junction, nice to see you in here. Dwight, hello. Welcome on board. Chris, how are you? Jim Tedesco, great you're here because I'm going to put you on first because we've been talking about a certain topic in the last few weeks, and while we wait for the guest to turn up, we can actually do that now. Jeff, the CSX enthusiast, how are you? John Benicki, yeah, g'day. And Drayman, number one, how are you? Rick's O-Gauge. John, I cannot pronounce your last name. Golf? I guess that's how we pronounce it. Just don't, please excuse my pronunciations and that at the moment. I'm not feeling the best. Looks like I've got looks like the fungal lung infection has come back again. So I've been struggling. Ray, g'day. How are you? Nice to see you in here. Ethan Armitage, welcome. Mystic, how are you, buddy? And all the others that are sitting in the background. Okay, what have I been doing since my 24-hour stream? Thank you very much for everyone that came in. I had fun doing it, even though it was a battle because I had that cold and flu lurking about, and it did knock me out a little bit. I would like to thank Ray Ron and Ree at Annafield for just jumping in for an hour while I put my head down and just try to catch a breath, really. I recovered from it, took some medication afterwards, and I thought I got on top of it, but I haven't. Well, stop the runny nose anyway. Hopefully those who did join in from time to time, hope you guys enjoy the 24-hour stream as much as I enjoy doing it. Now, the layout construction, I've taken, as you guys know, I've taken the top layer out. I started doing some woodwork. The weather turned on me yesterday, so I haven't been able to finish it. It's under a tarpaulin outside. But apparently the weather's going to clear up by the weekend, so I can continue on with it. I suppose good things come to those who wait. All right, now, what else is there? Okay, just hit the like button if you feel up to it. If not, well, I know there's going to be at least one person that's going to hit the wrong button. It's going to go down. I know. I don't know. All right. Now, we've been talking on Jim Tedesco's show, on his Thursday night shows, afternoon shows regarding steel, and particularly Chinese steel. Now, I've had experience of transporting steel pipes from a local storage nearby to the scrapyard, probably about 9 years ago. We transport about 8,000 tonne of pipe to the scrapyard, and it was interesting to see what kind of steel it was. And I've seen old steel do it, but I've never seen new steel do it. So the best way to explain it is we have a chocolate bar here. G'day, race fan. How are you? We have a chocolate bar here that we call a flake. And, of course, if I get it up upside down, that's the flake. Yeah, only in one short nap. If I didn't have that cold mystic, I think I would have made the 24 hours. Now, the way that steel works, you can imagine, that's a flake. Right, it's a chocolate bar, and they're just crumbling. Look at it, it's just one of the pieces in my hand. And that's what the Chinese steel is like. It just crumbles. So, yeah, I mean, look. So that gives you an idea what the Chinese steel does. Showing the waste, and I'm just going to get this away from the screen. So there you go. That's a flake. And it's actually nice chocolate. Just let me get this out of the way. Nothing like a bit of chocolate that'll pick you up. Sorry, dog hit the keyboard. Well, at least the dog's intelligent and putting all your numbers and minuses and pluses all together. You eat it quick, Jim. That's the thing, you eat it quick. But it gives you an idea what Chinese steel is like. I mean, they did try to use that on some of the pipelines and whatnot, and where they did use it, they keep bursting. I've seen, and the way they did it, they cut it with like the shears on the end of an excavator, and it was just incredible. I've seen steel being cut up many times in a scrapyard, and usually it just bends, and it's like cutting a plastic straw with a pair of scissors. That's the way it's supposed to be. But no, these were just crumbling as it's been crushed. So, yeah, it does, Ray. We redid our grandstand, our stadium down here with a new roof, and within a week or two, we got a big southerly wind, and we almost lost the roof. And the steel wasn't produced locally; it was actually brought in from China. So that was a big expensive lesson. Anyway, so that's what a flake That's what a flake is, Jim. I'm gonna admit it is very nice chocolate. Goes nice with a cup of coffee. You still playing with Barbie doll? I'd really like to know where you got to see the Barbie doll. I'm still trying to figure out what the Barbie doll you're talking about, John. Because it's not me that plays with Barbie dolls. It's Anthony that plays with Barbie dolls. He'll be watching probably in the background there somewhere. Right. Now, as you know, I've got my two 44 class diesels. They failed. I've got to get them up. My 3D printer also, after one repairs, has failed. Amazon's giving me the money back, and it's funny how things happen. The manufacturer of the printer, the barbecue. Oh, right. No barbecues at the moment. Barbie. Yeah, okay, yeah. Barbie is... Yeah, but he was referring to playing with Barbie doll, I believe. Yeah, he did say Barbie dolls. To the new Barbie movie. I don't know. Maybe we might have to, but I know when he is here next year, I'm looking forward to him coming over here next year. We are going to have such a good time and such a ball down here. We're going to record. I'm going to make sure we record as much of it as we possibly can and share it with you. I know the East Coast between Sydney and Melbourne and a bit of the inland would never be the same again. Hey, Janet, good morning, darling. How are you? Hope you got the heater going. I've got to get my heater fixed. Pixie's chewed the cord, so I've got to put get a new cord on it. It was cold last night. It was freezing cold. The clouds that are down on the south, I mean, they look pretty cold too, and there has been snow in the highlands already. I just had ice cream. Now you guys are making me hungry. Okay, guys, the show's over. I'm going to have lunch. See yous. No, just kidding. Yeah, so 22 degrees there. Well, I went out this morning and it felt like about 12 degrees. Les, how are you? Nice to see you. I think last night it got down to about, well, this morning got down to about 7 degrees. John Benik is waiting for dinner. Yeah, well, I'm still waiting for lunch. Well, I'm going to be finished before lunch anyway. So anyway, Ken called the guy that was looking after the warranty side of things for my 3D printer. Sent me an email last night and it goes, look, I was going to give you the refund and you can keep the printer. But then again, why do I want to keep a printer that's not working? Come on. You know, I don't want to be spending a month of Sundays trying to get the thing going. I mean, it's got a warp on the plate like that, so it's going to be hard to get a nice print done. But it's too late. It's It's getting packed up and it's going away tomorrow. I am looking, once I get the refund, I am buying a bigger printer. Excuse me. I am buying a bigger printer, but this time I'm getting it from a supplier in Sydney where they have in-house warranty and repairs. So if anything goes wrong, I'll just take it up there. Just had Oreos whole pack. You know what that's gonna do to you, John? You know what it's gonna give you the munchies all night long now. Now again, hopefully everybody enjoyed the 24-hour stream. Shane, how are you? Or Sean? Shane, nice to see you. I'm just waiting for the guest to turn up. He's going to do a presentation of a layout that used to be in excuse me, in my area. We did have it for those that saw it in a 24-hour stream. But because so many had missed it, because being Easter, not everybody had got to see it. We're going to do another presentation with it during this stream, so it's going to be amazing. I think it was amazing. I never got to see it in my time. I knew of the place, but I didn't know he had it in there. Tammy was a real trooper. Even though after having the surgery, she kept coming in and out and saying hi and whatnot. And Tammy, that was a huge pick me up as well. Excuse me, just Hey David, how are you, buddy? Nice to see you in here. My guest is running a little bit late, so yeah. Once this presentation's over, we'll have a quick get together with everybody and and then I've got to get going because I have a lot of other things I have to get done today. Right. But then again, I hadn't really else prepared. I wasn't expecting it to be late. I will. I might do another 24 hours later on somewhere down the track. But I think I'll do it differently next time. I think I'm going to make it like a relay where the channel just keeps going for the 24 hours and just have a group of people have fun on the channel. The whole idea, what I did was with that is for the people like myself that live on their own, don't have family spent, have time, do not have family members to spend time with or loved ones. It was an opportunity for everybody to get together and hang out. And I will do that again somewhere down the track. Okay, here's I believe the gentleman is here. He's ready. He's dressed in his summer clothing. Being a Toots from his location, and he's from the Gold Coast, and it's a lot more sunny and warm. Give you an idea where that is. That's up in Brisbane, where I was in January. Okay, so we'll bring him up. Oh, look, I'm still on meds too, Tammy, and I'll tell you what, it's not any fun. Hello, Marty, the train
How
shed.
are you?
How are you?
We should have some audio.
Well, I can hear you.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah, we won't worry about the rest of it.
Sorry about the delay in getting here, but yeah.
Yeah, the traffic from the bedroom to the train room, it can be very, very chaotic every now and then.
Well, I went down to Bunnings this morning to get a few bits and pieces, and then I bumped into some people there I knew, and we got talking, and then next minute I looked at my watch, and it was like half an hour had gone by, so, you know.
It's all right. We're not on a schedule, but we can run on Amtrak time or Sydney Trains time, so we're fine.
Yeah, well, I model Victorian Railways, so we're on schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. We don't have a cancellation, so that's...
Well, we haven't got a bus replacement service yet, but, you know, give us time.
I got to say, when we talk... I remember when I was with Quincy's in Melbourne, it was known as the Met then. We had 50 buses parked in the shed, brand new buses, and they're all Mercedes-Benz buses, the 405s. And I think only 10 of them were used as a regular service, but the rest of them were sitting there on standby. There was 20 of us drivers sitting together, twiddling our thumbs. Now, yeah, I don't know how many first responders there are here, like that are in, like in the fire department. You can sit in there for days on end and not get a call out. The whole purpose of us was sit there just in case something goes wrong with the rail system. Bang, off we go.
Yep.
You know, and it worked out fine because if there was, unless it was on the other side of the city, we were at the railway station within 30 minutes of a phone call. So they had a pretty good system in place. It was expensive, but it worked.
Yeah.
G'day, Randall. How are you? Now, Marty, for those people who missed the show the other day, and those who don't know you, could you tell them who you are and how you're involved in trains?
Oh, how I'm involved with trains. How I'm not involved with trains is probably an easier one to go down. But, well, my name's Marty Jenkins. I'm down here in sunny Queensland at the Gold Coast. Some of you might recognise the voice from the NMRAX podcasts. I've been involved with those since their inception. And, yeah, I model Victorian Railways in HO. I collect American passenger trains in N scale. And I also model the Puffing Billy in ON30, which is a narrow gauge line down in Melbourne. But yeah, it's not a hobby, it's an addiction, you know. It's, yeah.
Well, there's many addictions in the way. So you in the NMRA, and
Yep.
obviously you go traveling to the United States quite a fair bit because you're doing
Yep.
another trip again this year.
Yeah, I'm on the board of directors with the NMRA, so I attend. I'm the at-large worldwide director, so yeah, I attend the board meetings twice a year, and then once every 3 weeks online. So
Nice. Okay, now the reason why I got Marty up here, Marty made a presentation of a gentleman that lived in my area, who had the biggest private rail collection of its kind in this area. I know where the guy lived. Um, I only knew about the layout after he passed. Um, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Marty to do the presentation so everybody can have a look. And some of you guys will be just totally amazed. Now, do you want to leave the questions until after, or?
well, I was going to say, why don't you you keep an eye in the chat, and we'll stop every now and again and go through the questions.
Okay, no problem. That sounds good.
And then there's a small video at the end as well. So
yeah. All right, all yours.
Okay, well, back in 2015, I attended the NMRA convention in Portland. And at that convention, one of the clinics was the secret model railroad down under. Now it can be told. And it was presented by a guy by the name of Kermit Paul. Kermit is a NMRA member and used to work for Disney, I believe, years ago, but it's very big in the G scale, or was very big in the G scale circles. And Craig Woodhead is an Australian chap who was actually the live-in engineer at this layout. So the term live-in engineer will give you a bit of an indication about the size of this layout when we get to look at the photos. So who's Mick Williams? Well, Mick Williams was a very wealthy industrialist that lived down where Auntie lives in that area. And he owned several engineering organisations, probably most notably known for a company he owned that did civil works on the Snowy Mountains when the dam and all that was being built up there. He has always been a model train enthusiast, and as he got wealthier, he started to build a layout. He ended up buying the house next door to his existing house and started to build a large HO layout in there, basically putting holes through all the walls and making each room into a different scene. He didn't like that idea, so he thought, well, what's the best thing to do? Let's bulldoze the whole house and we'll start again, and we'll build a purpose-built building to hold an O-scale layout in there, because that was the scale he really liked, because the fidelity of the detail that you could get on some of the equipment. And you got to remember, this is back in the early 70s, so this would have been late 60s, early 70s. And this is a bit of a story about, the people that built the layout and how it was all put together. So the owner, Mick Marsden, as I said, a very wealthy industrialist. He had one of his project managers from Shin Investments, John Millington, oversee the whole project. The design was done by Brooks Bowman, which I believe worked for UP in the US. Train controls were all done by Kermit Paul. The resident engineer, as I said, for the first, I think, 9 years was Craig Woodhead, and then for the remaining 5 was Steve Flint after Craig retired. So there was quite a few people involved. Here's a photo here of the layout itself when it was at its heyday in operation. Basically, it was 2 large O-scale layouts, one next to each other. One was European-based and one was USA-based. Then underneath, there was a whole hidden storage section. You got to remember, this is all DC analog. This is, 20 years before Bernard Lenz even thought about putting a chip in a train and creating DCC. So this is all analog control. As you can see there's the yard looking back at the display yard on the American section. As you can see, there's not much scenery about. Mick was never one big on scenery. He wanted to see the trains. His marvel was watching the trains and the locomotives move past. So scenery to him was just an obstruction to actually watching the locomotives. Whoop. Well, let me jump the photo then. As you can see, there's the turntable there. Now, those turntables were digitally controlled. You could dial up on the control panel a selector switch, and they actually used a PC to locate which road number, which way, and whether the road was actually north-south, the actual turntable bridge itself, so that you get the polarity right. So it was quite a complex turntable arrangement. I believe it was a 50-stall roundhouse or 50-stall turntable. And you'll see later on he used to use white locomotives to mark every 5th loco so that he could count which road, which train was in, or which loco was in that he wanted to bring out. So as we said, he was a big collector of all scales, but especially O and 1/32. As we'll see by the video later on, the collection of the 1/32 scale trains and O scale trains that he had there was quite extensive. There's a couple of pictures of Mick. One when he picked up his latest model BMW back in 1980 something. The top right photo there, you've got John Millington in the white jumper, and then on the left with the grey suit, you've got Kermit Paul, who did all the control system for the layout. And this was shot in the those shots on the right were photographed in the bar area of the train room. So as you can see, it had quite an extensive lounge there, and I don't think there's anything Mick preferred to do than to sit there with a good glass of red and watch a couple of big boys go around the layout. Then down the bottom right-hand side there, you've got Mick again in the centre. And on the left-hand side, you've got Hans, who owned Australian Model Railway Imports originally, which is the largest importer in Australia of all the European brand model train accessories and bits and pieces. And then on the far right, you've got Mr. Sam Honkser himself, who'd come out from Korea because he couldn't believe that the models that he were making were pulling trains of this size around such a large layout. As he said when he came here, he said these were designed to sit on shelves for people to look at, not actually run and operate like a real railroad. So, yeah. So, as I said, he decided the house next door was no good for his trains. He demolished the whole thing and said, let's build something purpose-built. So, it's a 2-level design, 3,500 square foot. Upstairs, there was a large area for the layouts and the entertainment area. And we'll look at the entertainment area and and the layout. And then downstairs there was a whole bunch of display cabinets with a large 1/32 scale collection all housed in there, along with a room. It was originally a guest room, but it ended up becoming the apartment for the live-in engineer, storage area, and a large workshop on the lower floor. So there's nothing like starting building your layout by getting a D4 dozer in and starting to churn up half of the mountain. So as you can see here, the construction's well underway. They've excavated back into the wall, and it is a very picturesque area where this block of land was. I mean, it wasn't a cheap housing area. It was one of the plush, more well-to-do areas in south of Sydney. And for him to suddenly start demolishing the house and then ripping half the mountain away just to build a layout room was a bit excessive. But then again, like I say, nothing exceeds like excess.
Well, I'll just give a quick note to people to give an idea of his wealth. He would fall into the top 5-6. Hang on. Top 5-6 people, the richest people in Wollongong at the time.
What always gets me about these photos is sort of the high vis or lack of, and hard hats. It was back in the days when, if you fell over and hurt yourself, too bad.
Janet, it's between us and Bulli. So all I can disclose. I mean, the place hasn't got the place there anymore, but the people that own the property still want to keep it discreet.
So as you can see, they're doing the foundations here, starting to put all the steel work in for the basement section of the layout room, and then start to put the concrete pours in. There's more steel work then coming up for the next level. Now, as I said, he wanted to build an entertaining area because, as a lot of these wealthy business people do when they have meetings or whatever, they might hire out a large area in one of the big hotels and have catering and all that there. Mick decided that he would have all these meetings out at the train house, and they had a commercial kitchen downstairs as well as all the stuff like the barbecue you can see there, and he used to have people up. Now, in the background there in that bottom photo is Japanese waterfall and fish pond, goldfish pond or whatever. Now, Mick was very influenced by Japan, and his house and the train house was all decorated in a Japanese-ish theme. So you can see here the photos at the top. To make this pond for his outdoor area, they actually put in a big dam and then put a pump behind there. It pumped the water back up to the top, and that was then the waterfall that you can see in the bottom photo in the back there, and you can see the pond here on top of where these guys are here on the left. So as you can see, just how many people build a waterfall and barbecue area for their train layout? But that story always got me. So this was some shots from inside. There's the bar area in the entertainment room at the top there. But more importantly, here's down the bottom, and this was the display area before anything went into the actual room for the display. So
I've got to say, Mick really thought it through. He put the most compulsory part of a layout feature in the room, and that was the bar. Every layout room needs a bar.
Yep,
hey, Kyle,
full wet bar.
A full wet bar. Yep.
So up the top there, we got a photo. This was the entrance into the train house, or as it became known, the tea house. So as you can see. I mean, it's just to get into his train shed is a bit more flash than there is to get into some people's houses. And on the bottom right there, you can see the train house complete. As you can see, it's cut into the hill there with a retaining wall behind. And that's the bottom live-in area where the apartment is for the live-in engineer. He had his own separate driveway that came up and car park. Yeah, Craig was that for a while now. We'll get on to Craig. Who is Craig Woodhead? So Craig Woodhead owned EDA Electronics in Australia. Now, if any of the Australians watching will know EDA or its later incarnation, CDA. And there's a lot of CDA controllers around. They're currently made by Jim Costello up in Brisbane. But the company originally was owned by Craig Woodhead, and he owned EDA. Now, Craig came from the era of making amplification and PA systems and guitar amplifiers and the likes, and that's what EDA originally did. And then they branched into the building power supplies and controllers for the model train industry. Craig ended up getting a license for the AutoCab system from Kermit Paul, and we'll talk about the AutoCab system later on. And he was the resident engineer at the train house for 9 years, and he's been a long time NMRA Division 1 member. I think he's been a member here for about 30 years now. So there's a picture of Craig back in the day in the train house workshop. You can see the old Weller soldering iron there. And then there's a picture down the bottom right there of Craig in the burgundy shirt. And that's what he does now. He owns probably the largest hobby shop up in Brisbane called Hobbyrama. But one of the biggest things I must say about Craig is I've never seen anybody that can build track work like him. And when you look at some of the track work at the train play at the tea house here that we'll see later in the video and in some of these photos, the track work's totally amazing. So anyhow, that was Craig. He was the live-in engineer in the place, and what a job to live and just look after someone's collection and run the trains for him. So the trains, what did he have? As I said, 0 and 1/32 scale were his favourites to collect, and they were all from Tenoshoto, Gem, Sam Hongsa, and a multitude of Japanese and Korean brass manufacturers, as well as a lot of European stuff. A lot of Marklin, early Marklin, brass Marklin, Fleischmann, and a number of other European manufacturers. He was actually getting into HO, going to build another HO layout. And he'd been over in Europe and he'd gone to the Roco factory. And when you look at the video later on, I'll pause it, and you can see all these cardboard boxes stacked underneath his display cabinets. And they were one of everything that Roco made. So he basically went to the factory and just said, "Oh, rightio, okay, I'll buy one of everything." I mean, when in the early 70s, when the Marklin released the 1/32 scale crocodiles, he bought one of every colour, and they were all brass locos, and I think they were around about $3,500 back then. So that would have been $3,500 in 1974 money, which you could probably quadruple that now.
Definitely. Now, Mike has actually asked a question. 1 in 32, is that equal to G scale or
gauge 1?
It's
European gauge 1, but it's bigger than O scale.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
An American equivalent would probably be F scale.
F. Far out scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he decided, okay, I'm building this building. We've put it all together. Now we've got to get a layout together. So he got Brooks Bowman in Southern California to design the layout. And as I said, Mick wasn't one. He didn't want to do any operating sessions. He didn't go there and have any big switch lists. What he wanted to see was big trains running, and as many of them as possible. And he didn't want to run them. So it had to be all automatic. He wanted to just sit there and watch trains, as I said, sip a good red and watch trains running past on the layouts. And he didn't want a heap of people there. He was a very, very private person. In fact, all the people that were involved with the layout were sworn to secrecy, and I think they actually all had to sign non-disclosure agreements until he passed away. And unfortunately, he passed away a few years before this clinic was run in Portland, and that's why now they're saying now it can be told because it's no longer there, and Mick's no longer around.
So even I didn't know about it. And I contracted to him too, and I never knew about it.
There was probably about 10 people in Australia that knew about it.
Yeah,
and that was it. But here's the architectural drawings of the train house in Wollongong that were going to be built. So this is the first floor. So that's the expanse. Now, the whole building had no beams, no pillars, nothing in there. So it was all arch construction, so that there was no beams, nothing to obstruct the layout when it was being built. Over on the left here, you can see up on the top, you can see the bar area where those photos were taken. And then out from there goes out to that pool deck with the barbecues and the entertainment area and all the rest of it. And then downstairs, this is the basement area. So it's a large room for all of his display cabinets and displays. The long room at the back there is the workshop for the collection. And then over on the right-hand side is the live-in quarters for the engineer or the live-in engineer there. So, and then out the back there, they had a little patio area for whoever was living there. So, quite a nice little setup. Whoop, we've gone too far. Let's go back. So this was when we got up there and the layout had been removed. Now, unfortunately, the layout was not saved. The layout was taken apart with a chainsaw. Probably actually about 8 chainsaws. We were lucky to get there and actually rescue a couple of pieces of the track work as displays. But the layout basically all got pulled apart. The train house had been sold when he passed away, and the people wanted to redevelop it into a normal house. But you can see by this photo what a great room to build a model railway layout in there. Not a pillar in sight to hold anything up or the likes. Just a nice big open room. On the left there, you can see that's Craig Woodhead there when we went up there to get all the bits and pieces.
Yeah, he would have used the similar technique what they used in a lot of the construction in Rome and India with all those big temples and whatnot where they have the arched roof, because when you arch it and when you put weight on top of it, it just bonds together. Yeah.
Yep. But brilliant room. I mean, now unfortunately that's all partitioned off into bedrooms and lounge rooms and all the rest of it. But yeah, what a great, imagine building an N scale layout in there.
Oh man, you can do for the N scalers, you can pretty much do the whole division, couldn't you, in the whole region?
Basically. This was the track plan of the top decks of the layout. So as I said, one half was European and the other half was USA. I believe the European one's at the top and the USA one is down the bottom, if I remember rightly. I've probably got that back to front, but anyway. So that was the track plan on the top, and as I said, not much scenery. The tracks ran down into hidden storage underneath, and we'll have a little look at that because most of those entrances were up on curbs. So it's amazing the inside slips on curbs that Craig had made, and we'll have a look at a few of those in a minute. And that's the hidden storage. So that's the track plan. So these are from the original drawings that Brooks did of the track plan and the hidden storage. And because we'd like to maybe one day be able to recreate the layout, we've done a CAD drawings of the layout as well. So Craig had been working on those. How was it made? Okay, it was all redwood framing, so it wasn't cheap timber. It was 20mm plywood tops, a kainite or homosote tops on that. So there's a picture of the layout under construction in the room. Some more here of laying the yards. All the track was hand laid. We'll get onto that in a minute. The track was all nickel silver, code 165. And it was prefabricated, some of the track, and most of all the curves and all the point work were hand laid. So the complex track work where it came into place, Craig did all the works, including the double inside slips on the turns, and all the points were operated by switch machines, and they were the PFM types, predecessors to the tortoise switch motors, basically. And then to do all the routing to get into yards in the hidden storage, there were diode matrices made up to control the routes, which would then switch the switch machines and route the power to the track in the correct polarity. So you got to remember, as I said, this is all DC. There's no DCC or anything like that there. Here's a couple of photos of some of the track work, some of the point work that Craig had done. Unfortunately, as I said, a lot of the really nice point work was destroyed when they pulled the layout out of there. But we did manage to get a couple of sections of the layout, which have got some of the double slips on them that he'd built, and they'll just be a static display. But yeah, it's amazing when you look at some of the track work on this layout. Turntables. So as I said, this is before you could buy any automated type of turntable or any turntable with indexing. So because Mick owned an engineering company, he had them design the turntables for him. There's the control switches for each of the turntables. So you basically select on that rotary switch, you select the road that you want to pull the train out of. Once the turntable has made it round there and indexed, you'll see the signals turn from red, yellow to green. So they'll go from red to yellow when the track actually lines up. And then if the polarity north and south of the turntable bridge is correct, the green light will light up. If not, it'll spin back around to the other side, so the polarity will be correct. So it was a fairly complex turntable operation for pre-DCC, pre-Fleischmann turntables or anything like that. And as you can see, the rotary switch had a little bit of wiring attached. When they built it, the rotary switch they needed didn't exist. So he basically had one of his engineering companies make a rotary switch that gave him all the poles and the switching combinations that they needed. So that was a custom-made switch for the turntable. Now there's two of those, obviously, because there's one in the European and one in the American section. But what I look at there is just the wiring. I mean, it's just so neat. It's insanely neat. Anyway, we'll move on. So there's the bottom of the turntable itself with the indexing and all the contacts on the switch on the rotating bridge to actually work out where it is and where the polarity is and the likes. So as I said, this was all custom made for him by one of his engineering companies. So I'd love to have been in the boardroom the day that was discussed.
Yeah, it was a tax dodge.
And it was all run by a 286 PC that ran the turntable indexing. So you see young Martin there programming the PC. That's not me. That's another Martin that used to work there. But if you look on the left, you can see some of the Craig's track work again. The crossovers and then the points and then the double slips going through, taking the main line onto the hidden storage feed line. I mean, it's just amazing. And then this line here coming out and going through double slips the other way back onto the main line. I mean, some of his track work was just totally amazing. As you can see down the bottom here, there's a number of locos that are painted white that are strategically placed around the turntable. As I said, that's so Mick could count. If he wanted to take that blue engine out, he knew it was one left of that white loco, and they were always on either like 5, 10, 15 on numbered output. So he knew to take it then to, if that was 15, he knew to take the 14, and the turntable would automatically route itself around to 14. So, these locos were all painted just to be markers, basically, on the turntable. So, train control. How are you going to control a big layout like this if you've got someone who doesn't really want to run it and just wants to sit back and watch trains run? I guess you can do what a lot of us do and just turn them on and hope for the best. Or you can put in some sort of automation. So Kermit Paul, as I said, he was big in the Garden Railway fraternity, and was an ex-employee of Disney. I don't know if he was one of the Imagineers or not, but he did a lot of animation work for Disney. Hence why his Garden Railway was kind of Roadrunner-ish type themed, where you had the balancing rocks on the tops of cliffs and bits and pieces like that. But he was going to build the control system, and they called it the Auto Cab Progressive Cab Control System. Now, that dates back to an article by Lynn Westcott back in the 50s in Model Railroader. Lynn Westcott was one of the pioneers of the NMRA and automated train control well before Bruce Chubb or any of those guys got in on the scene. So what they came up with this idea was that as you move your train around the layout and it goes from block to block, this system would automatically connect your cab or your DC power supply to each block as the train progressed. So that way you could drive a train all the way around the layout, and you could have some form of occupancy detection, and you could automatically move from block to block without having to go to a panel and switch a switch or anything like that. It would just seamlessly drive straight through. So Kermit Paul realized that could also be automated using some relay logic. So they decided then to make AutoCab, which was using relay logic to move cabs from block to block on your layout as it went around. So all the logic was all diode, matrix, and relay based. Like I said, this is all well before anybody ever thought of things like Arduinos or DCC or anything like that. I mean, as it was later on, Bruce Chubb used computers to do a lot of this logic functions that these guys did with relays. So as you can imagine, the control system was going to be big. Now, as I said, Kermit brought this, made the progressive cab control system into this auto cab system, and it also had some signalling, and the signalling would just go back to the engineer station. There was no signalling actually on the layout. All the signalling went back to the people in the cabs that were actually driving those trains, and we'll look at the signalling later on. But with the relay logic, what he did was look at the signalling and basically say, well, if we've got a yellow or a red, we're going to put the brakes on the train and stop it. And if we've got a green, we're going to release the brakes and go to whatever the throttle's set to. So very simple and very effective for automatic train control. No inertia or anything like that. It would just ramp up and then ramp down slowly. So very, very simple. Okay, there is one of two of the control racks for this layout that was shipped from the US to Australia. And what we have basically on the left, we have our cabs or our DC train controllers, our DC power supplies. And then on the right, all these boards here, all these relays, should I say, are all the blocks that would be switched. So we've got 10 cabs by 60 blocks that it can be switched through. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the wiring and the construction that took place on the other side of the planet to make this layout run. And you can see the shipping container underneath it was about to be put in. They were just packing these up and shipping them off. But there were two of these cabinets. When you look at the video later on, you'll see these cabinets, but relays have all been replaced with electronic cards. In the mid-80s, they upgraded a lot of the control system to make it a little bit more reliable. As you can, and from what I've been told, a lot quieter, because as you can imagine, all these relays clicking and clacking, it could get quite loud. So the cabs that ran the trains, they were 10 amp transistor throttles with inertia effects. They had the three color signals represent them on the throttle, and you could select either automatic, engineer, or manual mode for each of the cabs. So you could, if you want to, give Mick one of the remote cabs, and he could sit there and drive one train while the other 10 all ran on their own. Oh, got a bit too quick there. There's a picture of one of the control panels of a group of 5 cabs. And I always am amazed at this. Those panels were custom made. They're all anodized, etched aluminium. And every time I look at this, it reminds me of looking at something like the mixing console at Abbey Road or something like that. You know, not a model railway layout controller. But
just let me hold you there for a minute. I just wonder with Mick, I wondered if he adopted the same principle as old John Cleary did in this area where he'd actually assigned projects like this to his apprentices to do. They're learning the trade, because he was heavily involved in engineering, particularly for mining and switchboards and stuff like that. So he'd be amazed to see how much of this was done by his apprentices.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if it was done by. But it's just amazing, and like it's not a thin sheet of aluminium, like it's a good chunky, and the throttles down at the bottom, you can see they've got like the little offset knob, like a bit like the Digitrax controller today. And up the top there, you've got the volt and an amp meter for your particular cab, your inertia settings on the right. There's the signaling on the left there with the green, yellow, and red to tell you where that cab, should it move forward, should it stop. The toggle switch down below puts it into automatic or manual mode, and then at the bottom you've got a toggle switch to take you to north or south or east or west on the layout. But just amazing. And when you look at the rest of the panel that's there, I got some photos later on. That's different. Okay, why not DCC? Well, we've been through that. This is well before DCC was even a thought in anyone's mind on how we could control trains. Signaling system. As I said, there was no trackside signals, just cab only. And all the occupancy detection was done by opto detectors. So when we look at the film later on, you'll see a train disappear into the hidden storage, and you'll see all these lights everywhere. And they are lights above the opto sensors for the occupancy detection. So it could tell in the dark hidden storage where a train was running. No sound, of course. There was a analog ambient sound system in the whole room that used to put on every now and again. But basically, there was, sound DCC. None of that was about. And from what the guys have said, Mick never really expressed a desire for locomotive sounds, just ambient sounds of wildlife and that in the room. That's all he was interested in. As I said, they had block detection and switch controls. You could actually switch and run between the two layouts, so you could run from the American section into the European and then back again. And if you did that, a lap around the layout was about 40 minutes. There we go. We can see there's two guys there sitting there operating trains manually. And you can see the signaling's lit up on this particular cab. It's got green, so it's going to allow it to go. The other cabs are not switched on, so they're not doing anything. But you can see the control panel for the actual layout itself. As I said, all anodized aluminium, purpose-built. There's the turntable selection switch, different cab routing, so you can route each different track to a different cab on the controller. So, like I said, for DC, it was very complex in the way it ran. There we go. There's a picture again of the yards and the power selection. So we can tell which cab is actually going to be connected to each of these tracks in here. And you could hook multiple cabs on multiple tracks through the route, and then the push buttons here obviously change the points, and that was indicated by they're not LEDs, they're actually incandescent globes originally, but they were all changed to LEDs eventually. And it was a picture of the workshop. So like I said, it was a fully stocked, pretty advanced workshop for its day. Another PC to maintain the turntables. It was mounted on a trolley that they could wheel out, but it had all the relevant tooling and gear to maintain a collection. As you can see up on the shelf there's one of the 132 scale. I think it might be a Mikado brass loco that's obviously in the workshop to have something done to it or the likes.
Yeah, the power tools would have gone through the factory and written off on tax.
Yeah. So, boys doing the track work, building the turntables. Whoopsie, let's go back. So what happened when Mick passed away? Well, first of all, Craig and Kermit Paul put this presentation together, and I was lucky enough to get hold of it. And I said to him, well, there's people in Australia that don't know about this layout, so we need to spread the news. But basically, there was two big collections, the 132nd and the O scale, which was given to the Workshops Rail Museum in Ipswich, and the HO collection was all given to the University of Wollongong, I think it is, down there. But anyway, Ipswich Rail Museum's a very, very, very good museum if you're ever in Brisbane to go and have a little look at. It's got a large Queensland model railway in there, but what we're aiming to do is they want to build a separate building within the complex and rebuild the tea house layout and actually have the rolling stock up and running. Mick's idea when he donated the stuff was he didn't want it to sit in cabinets and people just look at it. He wanted them to look at it like he used to look at it. In other words, on a layout running. So Craig Woodhead is making plans with Ipswich Rail Museums, but they're a government organisation, and as we all know, if you deal with anything with government, it takes about 12 times longer than anything else to get anything moving. So we'll see.
You can double that with the way the Queensland government's going at the
moment.
Well,
yeah. Anyway, so that's there. But what they have done is they have catalogued about 80% of the collection, and that's all available up on their website. So you can see photos and info on on all the items of rolling stock at the Ipswich Railway Museum website. So that's all available now to have a little look at. But as we said, the best way is to actually see these things running. So there's a video. Now, if I hit this button, it should come up. Now, tell me if you let me know, Artie, if you've got the audio, and I'll hit that. You got audio?
No. No audio. No.
Why don't we have any audio? Let me have a look.
Kyle, he would have had. Yeah, they were worth a fortune, I can tell you. Yeah, still no audio.
I don't know how we had audio last time, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And I'm just doing the same thing as last time. Oh, well, just give us a second and I'll see. If not, we'll go without the audio.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't know why all of a sudden we don't have audio with that.
But, yeah, Kyle, he would have had. We just faintly got it there. The audio is very low.
Sorry?
Audio is very low.
Can you turn it up your end?
No. Hang on.
How about that?
For nearly 20 years. A team of people working to the precise direction of Mr. Nick developed the building, built the layout, set up the displays, and maintained.
If you see on this photo,
can you do it up any louder? Because it's what you call it. Oh, nearly got it.
Oh, we'll see what happens now.
Yeah.
When I play it. Mick was also a big collector of tools and equipment. And one of the things he always had a thing for was wood planes, of all things. So that there is the extensive collection of wood planes that he had there as well. And I didn't really believe it, but some of those were worth the size of a small European country. You know, like there's money in tools.
Their collaborative effort resulted in the creation of the magical train house. The original residence on the site proved inadequate as the collection grew.
So that's the display room that was downstairs after they put all the shelving in. But remember I said he went to Roco and there's all these cardboard boxes?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
they're full of everything that Roco made and sold at that time.
And a new brick and slate building was designed to house the one-gauge locomotives in glass cases on the first level.
So as you can see there, they're brass locos. So there's a gem cab forward. That's in O scale in the front. There's a couple of them there. There's a bunch of Garretts that were custom made for him. And I think these are Sam Honksa Challengers down below.
Thousands of HO gauge models, packaging never open, rest at the ready for a layout that never materialized. From the early 1980s to early 2000, only pieces judged by Mr. Nick to be excellent were added to the collection, mostly 1 and O gauge. The HO and N pieces were packed away to make room for German, Swiss, Austrian and French. German through to America. German, French, Swiss, and a few Japanese logos were commissioned, ordered, received, and included in the collection.
So those German logos with red bottoms.
I suppose it's just a natural progression up through from N gauge to HO to O gauge. Eventually, 1 gauge is probably the most sophisticated, the best detailed, the best engineered gauge. So obviously, the closer you get to the prototype, the better the model's going to be.
As demand for Australian logos of this quality and value was limited, Reynolds models represent Australia.
My jaw dropped the first time I walked in.
The tea house second level featured 2 custom-designed O-gauge model railway layouts with computer-driven and monitored controls along 4.5 kilometres of hand-extruded nickel-silver track, complete with sensors along the track, relays and touchscreen controls. The quality and volume has no equal in Australia. In the late 20th century, as computers evolved, so did the technology applied in the layout at the tea house, capable of running 20 trains at one time.
You can see there the track work.
A day of operation could accommodate 240 working models.
If you look there on the left-hand side, you can see a whole bunch of double slips on the curbs going in. And then right in front where that yellow container is, you can see another section there. But yeah, I thought that was the track work was amazing, considering it's all hand built, hand laid, and this is before the days of fast tracks or anything like that. It was, get a file and get a template and some pins and give it a go.
A lot of swearing and cursing. in the background with no one around while it was being laid.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, another 400 pieces of the collection, locos and other rolling stock stood ready to serve in the roundhouses and laybys of the two halves of the layout.
He dressed it up to the point where he could still see the train. If there was more buildings, trees and landscaping, it would have blocked the vision of what he really wanted to see. His passion was locomotives. He wanted to have a layout for them to run on, but the scenery wasn't near as important as the mechanical items running around the track.
The capacity of this layout to run trains is unequalled in Australia.
The whole thing is as best as we could do with the materials that we had available at the time. It was a progression thing. Originally, the layout was built, it operated with relays. Each block was set up and operated with relays. That was a good system for a while, and of course, in the end, it ended up being computer controlled. We've got optical sensors around the track, and we tried to make it as perfect for him as we could.
Some of their track work is really beautiful. Those crossings, switches, built on curves, they're really exceptional.
The layout consists of two parts, modelled on the operating systems of two different continents, American rail and European rail. Trains can fly over to the other continent to complete the full circuit, which takes around 40 minutes. In his 70s, Mr. Mick finally commissioned a piece of rolling stock to run on his layout in honour of the train that started the collection.
Of course, the thrill was the railway yard, and that, of course, was the interest. But it was a small truck here. It almost fascinated me. It's the simplest truck. I can remember coming to feel in reality very simple. That's to the extent where I went to Korea to have a brick made in as a proper model.
The O-gauge rolling stock, the items collected to run on the layout, comprise about 20% of the total number of pieces in the collection. The 1-gauge locos displayed behind glass are the jewels of the collection. For Mr. Mick, the collection was never about numbers. It was about engineering quality, detail, and accuracy to the actual locomotive. In the 1-gauge, this is most obvious, most critical. Until now, the tea house collection was truly a secret. Fewer than 40 people visited the tea house, and then only by private invitation, to see the collection.
No, he was very worried about vandalism. He only had a very small group of people, international and local, that would come, but he was extremely private. We were all sworn to secrecy.
He was very, very private about it. There was never to be any photos of it, and it was never to be talked about. So you did.
Mr. Mick died in September 2013, aged 97. It was his wish that the collection be gifted to the people of Australia. The Wollongong-based company he founded, Shin Investments, has donated items in his name to the Workshops Rail Museum in Queensland and the University of Wollongong.
Yep.
So that was the tea house.
Yeah, it's yeah, it was just I think Rod Stewart was still a youngster back then days. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if he did end up going there. I know Rod Stewart has been in the area for about 3 weeks in Sydney. He did end up going to woodpeckers hobbies in Sydney, and didn't buy much. But anyway, yeah, it was just I wished I knew in some ways, but in other ways, uh, it was a very well kept secret. Even
Yeah.
my bosses, well, not so much a boss, but a mate of mine's father-in-law kept it away from me, and he was into model trains as well, and he would have known Mick pretty well because of his able to say his place in society here within our community here in Australia and the UK. But yeah, thank you very much for that, Marty. That was impressive. That would have really showed people, particularly in the US, that it's not just them that have big layouts. Some of us have too. Now,
No, well, it was funny because I never knew about this at all until I went to the convention in Portland. And that was 2 years after Mick had already died. So by the time I got to meet these guys, it was all over. You know, everything had been chopped up and moved and gone and all the rest of it. But as I said to him, I said, well, you know, no one in Australia knows anything about this, so we'll put this together as a clinic. And I've done this at a couple of different conventions, narrow gauge, the N scale over here and the likes. And yeah, they've kind of all fallen over going, geez, I didn't realise it was so big. At the time, a friend of mine actually had a very large or a comparable O-scale layout to that up in Beenleigh, just outside, between where I live and Brisbane, basically. And we always knew there was another big O-scale layout down south, but we didn't know where it was. We didn't know who owned it. We didn't know if it was a commercial thing or what, but we knew there was another big O-scale layout there. And all of a sudden, one Sunday afternoon, we had a visit from Mr. Sam Hongser. He dropped into our layout up here in Beenleigh, and we were having the chat to him, and he said, yes, he was just here on holidays, but he'd been over here to go down to Mick's layout, and then he'd heard about the train place and decided to come up to Brisbane and check that out, and then head back to Korea. So, yeah.
It goes to show how secretive this layout in my area was. And it's tucked away so well, like I didn't even know it, but I went past it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. So,
well, you wouldn't really know by looking at it. I mean, it just looks like a house, a well-to-do house in a well-to-do neighbourhood. I mean, there was nothing on the outside. There was no train paraphernalia in the garden or anything to indicate anything of railway relations.
yeah, but the house is not seen and is seen from the road.
No. Well, that's what all the houses up there are like.
The nearest house to it will be something like about 3-4 acres.
Yeah.
And I think our biggest HO layout will be the one down at Emerald on the end of the Puff and Billy line, which I will actually like to go and have a look at.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, that one.
I remember when that one, the original owner of it, well, I didn't know the owner as such, but I knew his sister-in-law that lived up here. And when the sad news about that was when he completed it, he actually passed away with cancer. But yeah, I've been told it's not the best, but I do want to go down and have a look.
Well, if you're down there, get yourself down to Amra in Melbourne, to their club rooms.
Where are they at now?
They're
because I know they used to be under a Jollymont station.
No. That's not Amra. That was another club. If you have a look at my
Okay, Tammy. Good night,
YouTube
darling.
channel. There's a video on it.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, Amra Branch is. Where's their address? Ascot Vale. Oh no, that's the showgrounds. Hang on. Where are they?
I was going to say, it wouldn't be in Ascot Vale because I would have been there.
Glen Iris.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're on a building. It's on a very sloping ground.
Right.
And they've got a big G gauge outside that's like built into the retaining wall. And then inside there's a large HO VR based layout.
Yeah, I was just a bit too slow to get a lot of my VR stuff. I wouldn't mind getting into it, but I've got too much New South Wales stuff, and I had to put a handbrake on it because I haven't got the space to store it. And as I said a few times in the past, I got to make sure I don't overclutter myself because I've got to move when I move out of here. So I don't want to be hiring a big semi-trailer to move all my stuff out.
Yeah.
Speak. But yeah, that was very nice. Thank you very much for that, Marty.
Not a problem.
And hopefully everybody enjoyed it. I'm not going to go for the 4 hours or 24 hours this time around, but I'll just drop you down off into the basement for the moment, Marty, and we'll have a chat more in a moment.
Yep.
And I'll just sign off from everybody else. Okay, so as I said, I did have something special on for everybody. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. I'm not going to make this a big long stream. I've got a few things to do today. Yes, they did, Les. Yeah, that's a sad story, that. But anyway, I'm going to head off, guys. Thank you very much for coming to the show. I'm hoping to do my Wacky Weekend this weekend, and I'm not too sure who's up next week. Just have a look around, and someone post up. I think it's either Thomas or Derail Daryl's on next. So, guys, thank you very much for coming in, and good night to all the American viewers, and have a good day to all the Australian viewers. Bye for now.